This intro is going to be super confusing for the podcast version format of this live stream. For those of you who cannot see, members who are receiving the January 6th awards are shaking hands with Chuck Schumer and then seemingly walking past Mitch McConnell and that guy behind him. And Nancy Pelosi, this was not all orchestrated. I need to watch this one more time because part of me says it could just be a misunderstanding. Mitch McConnell's got two things in his hand. Schumer's got two hands open. He points to, no, he nods his head. It looks like he might nod his head and say, I'm not shaking Mitch McConnell's hand. She kisses Schumer. I don't know who the people are by name. Nancy Pelosi's in the side, and she's like, oh, well, there you go. Yeah. I will still give the benefit of the doubt, even if it's not deserved, that nobody would be that petty. Oh, crap. I forgot to explain what the... it was some January 6th. They're giving out some medals to the police. Hold on 1 second. I'm not going to find it. I refuse to believe that people would be so petty at a moment like that to not shake the hands of their ideological or political adversaries. I also refuse to believe that they could be so stupid to actually, at this point in time, blame whatever they think is to be laid by way of blame on the Republicans, exclusively, particularly, or specifically, and not on capital authorities, not on politicians at large. I refuse to believe it. Now, this wasn't the opening video I wanted originally, but I couldn't start off with the Project Veritas video because I have to give some commentary on that video while it rolls. I refuse to believe that people are that petty, that political, that it might have been actually set up so that they could then use that video clip for political purposes. But alas, it wouldn't be the most corrupt thing, the most insincere, politically motivated, disingenuous act of the day even. They are that petty, says Kizzy. It's, yeah. Eyebrow raised in amazement of incredulity, Marcus Hadrian. Good afternoon, people. It's going to be a good one today. It's like we were live yesterday. It was a good one yesterday. And I'm thinking they're sick. Where's my phone? Where's my phone? Son of a beast thing. I don't have my phone. Oh, cripe. I don't know where my phone is. Well, that's just great. I was going to show you my phone, but I might need to have my phone just in case someone calls. I was saying, like, what are we going to have to talk about between last night and today? And then, hey, the internet is amazing. People forward me information, forward me stories. The world is amazing because between last night and today, let's see. Chloe Cole, the detransitioning teenager who was on the channel to describe her ordeal with the transition process that was recommended to her by medical professionals. She's filed a notice of intent to sue by Harmeet Dillon and another lawyer. We're gonna walk through it. Between last night and today, at least it was reported in Canadian media, a British Columbia court tossed a bunch of COVID fines that were issued against the nightclub that remained opened, allegedly in defiance of COVID protocol, public health measures. There's some politics to that story, I think. What else happened? More out of Canada. A judge recently declared that they're not unfreezing the frozen funds from the Freedom Convoy, even though the defendants are arguing that they need the funds to be unfrozen so they can pay their attorneys so they can mount a defense. Politics ruins everything. Boom, shakalaka. And the big story of the day, there's been a prisoner swap. If you had Joe Biden on your fantasy football team, if you had him on your dodgeball team, if you were playing Monopoly with Joe Biden, well, you'd want to continue playing Monopoly against Joe Biden. You would trade like Baltic Avenue for Mediterranean Avenue, and he'd think he just got a good deal. But if he's on your team negotiating for you, you might want to ask for a transfer to another fantasy football team. There's a COOF warning on this. Yeah, there's a COOF warning because there is. Let me see here. Check this out. This is the absolute state of this is the absolute state of YouTube. Let's see if I go present, share screen. Yeah, there you go. That's me in the past. There you go. Get the latest information from the CDC about COVID-19. Well, that is Meta. Okay, let's bring that out. There's a COVID warning on this video because I mentioned the word COVID, and the arbiters of truth want to make sure that everyone goes and gets their information from the same sources of information. Get out of here. I don't want to see that now. Yeah, the big story of the day is Brittney Griner, the WNBA basketball player, who was arrested and convicted for allegedly, and not allegedly, because I guess she actually pleaded guilty, so it's not allegedly, she did smuggle in THC marijuana in vapes into Russia, was arrested, pleaded guilty, sentenced to 9 years in jail. The Biden administration has been working tirelessly to free this political prisoner who broke the law in a foreign country that everyone regards as being the most evil of authoritarian regimes, yet we go there to play basketball for some reason, yet we give our talent and our money to this country that we think is run by a Hitler-like dictator. And she was arrested, pleaded guilty, sentenced to 9 years in jail. The Biden administration has negotiated her release. The release, a petty criminal is not a mean way of describing her. I think the crime was there, but the sentence was excessive. Negotiated the release of a petty criminal, and all it took, an exchange of perhaps the most notorious arms dealer in the history of the world. One of they might be like top 10, tied for the top 5 with, I don't know, United States of America, biggest dealer of arms in the world. But this guy was a criminal arms dealer, not a lawful arms dealer. It's legal when the state does it. They negotiated her release, 1-for-1 prisoner swap. Brittney Griner, WNBA superstar, sentenced to 9 years for, in fact, bringing illegal drugs into Russia. They swapped her for, forget the guy's name, but Lord of War was based on him. Lots to talk about there. So that's it. Let me make sure that we're live on the Rumbles, which we look to be. Yes. Very nice. Yeah, that's it. We're going to go over these stories. But first things first, people, everybody, you may have noticed I'm at a stage of the YouTube world where I have sponsors, but not just sponsors for the sake of sponsors that I actually use, because as many of you know or don't know, I am not an immigrant to the United States. I'm on a temporary visa. But I live in Florida now, at least for a few years. Coming down here, one day I'm going to do it's just going to be a 5-hour live stream talking about from day one to day present, what was involved in this move, because it's like, in retrospect, it's almost unbelievable. The amount of time it took, the amount of effort, the amount of financial getting screwed because I didn't know what I was doing. It'll be a learning experience for everybody. But we're down in Florida. And the one thing I learned down here is there's a specific type of fraud, or at least a very prevalent type of fraud in the United States, home title fraud. And it's not what people think. I keep thinking of the episode of The Simpsons where someone shows up and says they own your house. It's not that type of fraud. It's a type of fraud where they borrow money against your house by forging your signature on the deed that they pull from the local registry. They call it the clerk's office. Forge your signature, go to a bank and say, hey, I'd like to borrow money against this property. Here's my property. I can forge your signature because I can pull it up and see what it looks like. And they borrow money against your house. The fraudsters abscond with the money, and you are stuck holding a bag of debt, a lien against your house. What does Home Title Lock do? And I use it, and I consulted with our home insurance to make sure that it's legit. It's legit fraud. It's legit protection. 24/7 surveillance of the registry. Someone pulls your deed to try to forge your signature, or for whatever reason, you get notified, and there's a freeze so that fraudsters cannot borrow against your house, leaving you with debt on your house that you never incurred. And if you can't pay it, tough noogies, bank sells your house, go deal with it elsewhere. Home Title Lock is the protection against that. I use it. It works. If you go to hometitlelock.com/Viva, you'll see my beautiful election 2021 face. I haven't cut my hair since then. This was September 2021. So that'll give you an idea as to how much my hair grew in the last year. /Viva. You get a free title assessment, which is worth $100, and it's $19.95 a month. If someone tries to pull your deed, you get notified there's a freeze, and they cannot borrow against your property. They also guarantee defense up to $250,000, I believe. America, for good and for bad, is still the Wild West in a great many respects, for good and for bad. The fraud stuff is not for the good, so for the bad, but it's good. I use it. HomeTitleLock.com/Viva. Thank you very much, Home Title, for actually also sponsoring the channel of the hinged, fringed minority with unacceptable views. Now to transition into something a little. I wanted to open the stream with this video. James O'Keefe is back on Twitter and back able to spread the word and spread the information. James O'Keefe doing what journalists used to do once upon a time called undercover journalism, which a great many people actually sort of now want to actually criminalize. You're not a journalist if you surreptitiously record conversations with people who might not be honest and forthright if they know they're being recorded. You can't go undercover anymore and lie about your identity in order to gain access to certain areas, certain institutions, certain organizations, so you can rat them out like journalists once upon a time did. No, you need to ask for permission. You need to let everybody know that you're there as an investigative journalist, and just hope that they tell you the truth. James O'Keefe wrote a great book, American Muckraker, and it goes through the ethics of being a journalist. And everybody should read it if you read with your eyes, or listen to it if you read with your ears, as I do. It's a great book, and it goes through the ethics of what it means to be a journalist. And look, it's not something that everybody can do because, as per the positing of one of the sections of the book, sometimes being a journalist means lying. It means you have to lie in order to get the truth, because if you tell the truth, you're going to get a lie. So we're gonna. James O'Keefe is back on Twitter. Elon Musk, love him or hate him, and some people hate him a lot these days, brought him back. So we're going to start with one tweet from yesterday and another tweet from today, which is just the video and the tweet are just amazing. But before we do that, I almost forgot to say, simultaneously streaming on Rumble. We're going to go there in 17 minutes, give or take. If you want to support the channel, other than merch at vivafrei.com, and I'll show you some stuff later, Rumble rants and super chats. YouTube takes 30% of all of these wonderful things called super chats. If you want to support the channel, we are simultaneously streaming on Rumble. The link is in the pinned comment in the chat. I'll post it over here one more time. Rumble Rant has the super chat equivalent. They're called Rumble Rants. Rumble takes 20%. So better for the creator, better to support a platform that actually supports free speech. And we're going to be going there in a few minutes. So no medical advice, no legal advice, no election fortification advice. And we're going to get some amazing stuff today. But hold on actually, before we get started. Hold on. I noticed in the chat before the stream got started, someone was asking, where's Pudge? She doesn't get screen time anymore. Pudge is here. She's alive and well, even if she wakes me up. You woke me up at 3:30 in the morning to feed. I fed the dog at 3:30 in the morning. And then she's hungry again by 9. What's your deal? Pudge is good. Look at her. She's also looking, hold on, I'll show you. She's looking pretty good. Like not too fat. Getting some movement back in her legs. You see that? It's kind of amazing. It's more like reflexive and not actual meaningful movement, but all right. Oh my God. She just pooped on me. Oh my goodness. It's okay. It's okay. Give me 2 seconds, people. Oh my goodness. Oh. Oh. Ugh. I was going to say that's the reason why she doesn't get. I took her outside and squoze her, and I got pee out and thought I was safe. But okay, that cleaned up quickly. Anyway, so Pudge is good. Oh my good God. Okay, let's read a few super chats and get going. Haha. Have you heard the word coof sort of in the title of this stream? And I am presented with a giant splash below the video touting CDC coof info. Indeed. Oh my goodness. The religion of rationality. Careful, David. Your government is liable to soon offer you assisted. You know what? Oh, we talked about that yesterday. It's over the top, and I don't know when people are going to get outraged. I think some people feel like there's just nothing that can be done anymore. It's a downward spiral, and people have just passively decided to resign themselves to their fate. I think it would be worth it if she comes back and dedicates her life to getting nonviolent drug offenders out of prison in America. We're going to get there, free matter for the blind. Because I don't think I think her punishment was. We'll get there. We'll get there. Oh my gosh. I did wash my hands, by the way. So how long into the stream do you think Robert is going to remind you of this? Into the next stream? There's a video on the internet, like back in the day when I first started bathing her and giving her like bathtub therapy. She accidentally pooped, but oh my goodness. She's alive. She's well. She's happy. Okay. All right. I'm taking a shower. After this stream is over, people, like it's nobody's business. Where is the project virus? See, it's hashtag buttplugdean. Here we go. And by the way, it's not just that James O'Keefe is doing actual real investigative journalism. He's got such delivery, and he has a sense of humor, and it's it's like the best of the British dry sense of humor. We're going to see it in the second video. This is the clip. This is the montage. Apparently, a teacher, Chicago, Illinois, talking about how they give sex ed to their students. And don't take my word for it. I don't know who is stupid enough that they do these things and then they talk to people without thinking that if it gets recorded, someone might be recording this. Their own phone might be accidentally recording this. They might be accidentally butt dialing their I don't know, a friend who's going to hear the entire conversation. It's like they're proud of it when they think they're in a group of people who they think supports it. Listen to this, and I'm just going to make sure that I haven't missed a spot.
I had like our LGBTQ plus health center come in. They were passing around butt plugs and dildos to my students, talking about queer sex, using lube versus using spit.
Meet Joe Bruno, Dean of Students at the prestigious Francis W. Parker Private School in Chicago, which happens to charge $40,000 per student.
They're just like passing around dildos, butt plugs. The kids are just playing with them. They're like, how does this butt plug work? How do we do how does this work? That's a really cool part of my job.
Parents might be stunned.
Now context might make a little more sense if the person thought they were, I have to see if they thought they were on a date or something, trying to show how they're doing good for the community. That's the idea. You get the idea. A teacher undercover admitting that they're doing that with students. Some people, by the way, if you could imagine this, some people are saying, "What's the big deal?" They're just explaining how homosexuals, lesbians, and queers, I guess, do their business. It would be no better if it were heterosexual dildos. It would be no better if it were heterosexual butt plugs or whatever it is, because spoiler alert, people, I'm somewhat conservative, I guess, maritally, with respect to not knowing what triple figure body counts are, but now I do. Some people are some people do kinky things with their loved ones. So the idea that dildos and butt plugs are exclusively for gay, lesbian, or queer sex, that's not true. And this would be no more acceptable if it were heterosexual dildos, butt plugs, and a teacher, a male, I wouldn't say male versus female students. If it were any teacher showing any student talking about spit versus lube, dildos, butt plugs for heterosexual sex, I don't care. It would be scandalous, outrageous, and as a parent, I don't like starting sentences with "as a" because it doesn't oftentimes make your opinion any more relevant, except when it comes to your own personal experience. As a parent, if I found out that teachers were talking to let's just take my two girls, for example, about heterosexual sex in that type of graphic detail, and not merely from this is how babies are made, this is where they gestate from, and this is where they come out of, well, there'd be a problem as well. But there are people out there saying, well, this is totally fine. They're just explaining how queers, gays, and lesbians engage in sexual activity. It's not the queer, gay, and lesbian stuff that makes this offensive. It's the graphic sexuality of this that goes above and beyond biology. So some people are already saying, well, what's wrong with it? You wouldn't object if it were heterosexual sex. Yes, I would. And I think, yes, everybody who's objecting to this would. But it's illustrating a certain problem, which some people have been talking about, taking flack for on social media, that this movement is abusing of the fact that they've, say, infiltrated, but they're abusing of their place now to go above and beyond sensitizing people to not discriminate against gays, lesbians, and queers, as people should not. Some people are arguing that they've gone past that, and they are actively now engaged in the moral corruption of children. And I say they not as in the they, or a labeling they. If this were heterosexuals coming into schools, doing the exact same thing, I would call it the exact same type of moral corruption and grooming, period. Some people are saying that it has gone from equal rights to the corruption of youth. And some people have just said, this doesn't happen, it's not happening. And when you see these undercover videos, it's not happening. It's not happening. It's all in your head. This is a one-off. This guy's going to get punished, reprimanded. They're going to come out and talk, say a terrible thing. Oh, we apologize. And yeah. The video comes out, #ButtPlugDean, and Project Veritas has got its voice back on Twitter and is able to now share this stuff. Well, there was a follow-up today, and the editing is on point. And I say on point as in it's classic.
Joe Bruno.
Here. So the follow-up for today is they apparently are now confronting the teacher who they got undercover admitting to the butt plugs, the dildos, passing them around students. The LGBT groups come in and this is what they do. They got that on video. Now they want to talk to him. He was very proud to talk about it privately when he was in the company of people who he thought he was impressing. Not so eager to talk about it now that James O'Keefe is... I had a description that people might think was a bad pun. Rushing him on the street. Listen to this. It's oh my goodness. I don't know how James has the courage to do it, but he does it and he does it well. Listen to this.
Joe Bruno.
Yes.
Hi there.
I mean, look at this guy. This is deer in headlights. I mean, if anyone has ever seen a deer on the side, this is a deer in the headlights. A proverbial deer in the metaphorical headlights of getting busted by real journalists. Look at this.
I'm James O'Keefe with Project Veritas.
I'm just going to... Hell no! The editing is very good as well.
No.
You're on.
Just going to back up slowly. Kids in the background, blurred faces, Travis W. Parker School.
Camera here, talking about giving anal sex toys and butt plugs to local kids.
Where is he going? You can't run from the truth. You can't. You're busted. Now you best explain what you meant. Oh, I misspoke. It's never happened. Or lie. Just lie at least.
Children.
They're just like passing around dildos, butt plugs. The kids are just playing with them.
Sir, why are you running? Why are you running away?
Why are you running?
Sir, anal butt plugs and toys?
Excuse me?
The thing is this, it's not funny. It's actually shocking and outrageous and offensive. And James O'Keefe knows it. Like, he knows he's going to get this reaction, because if you go to an elementary school, or what this is an elementary or high school, you go to a school and you even talk about anal beads, butt plugs, and dildos, or whatever it is, someone's going to get angry, as they should, confirming the very problem here to begin with. Okay. Listen.
Bruno, just excuse me. This guy, this teacher, is talking about giving sex toys to your children.
This is the space where we're dismissing children.
Right.
Can you actually evacuate the patio?
Right, but he was giving sex toys to the children.
I have children here.
He's so good. He's deadpan comedy, but it's not funny.
Don't you think?
Please evacuate.
By the way, the ultimate irony, the song Ironic by Alanis Morissette was not irony. It was just bad luck. Rain on your wedding day is not irony. Getting in a plane crash the first time you wait your whole damn life to get that far, that's not irony. That's just bad luck. But okay, set that irony aside.
We're leaving, but he was talking about giving sex toys to children.
Thank you for leaving.
We understand. Reporter is asking someone a question. We are leaving, you bet. As you can see, he ran into the building as quickly as possible. Are we allowed to stand on the sidewalk, sir?
How can it takes a special composition of a human being to be able to do this?
Thank you. We're going to stand on the sidewalk right here. Do you know a Joseph Bruno? Bruno?
Oh, his name is Bruno as well. Oh, that's extra layers of funny. If it looks like I'm just looking around where I'm moving, I just need to make sure that I'm not actually sitting in a piece of dog poop that I might have missed. So that's James O'Keefe. Let me see here. There's some very, very funny things here. The irony is people knowing history but still blindly believes government or people have their best interest at heart. The irony, Ekaro, is that people are being trust the science from Johnson & Johnson and the other one there, Pfizer, that paid billions of dollars in criminal penalties for hiding the damage that their medical products were doing. Trust the government that is apologizing currently for having experimented on Black Americans for several decades. It was a several decade lapse of good reason and good judgment. And you're the conspiracy theorist for knowing history. Murph's Kicks, thank you. Murph's Kicks, I'm still using the first pair of shoes you gave me for running. They're beautiful, but they've gotten wet many a times, so their odor is quite pungent for the shoes. But that's just because I must have clocked, I don't know, 1,000+ miles on them jogging. They're still amazing for jogging, and the white ones are even better. Murph's Kicks on Instagram, people. He sent me a couple of pairs of shoes, and they're beautiful. They're just fantastic. So that's James O'Keefe. Conspiracy theories are just future spoilers. They're just people who know the past and can apply it mutatis mutandis to the future. And now, in retrospect, it makes sense as to why certain organizations, certain platforms really went out of their way to tie in certain conspiracy theories, which I think most people disagree with, like the flat Earth conspiracy theories, with the other legitimate conspiracy theories, which are actually not conspiracy theories. It's just the way the government has worked, will work, and will continue to work in the future. Super sticker from Corn Pop. Thank you very much. Corn Pop, 99 cents. Thank you very much, Corn Pop. Pete C. Of course we traded that guy back. Who else is qualified to... Don't steal my thunder, man. Pete C. Who else is going to be... Who else is qualified to deal with the billions of dollars worth of arms we're flooding the market with? You stole my thunder. Okay, let's move over to Rumble. Actually, let me see if I've missed... I think I've missed a ton on Rumble. Oh, one day they're going to be able to integrate, hopefully. Okay, I haven't missed any Rumble rants. Good. Let's go over to Rumble right now, and we're going to get into it. We've done the politically correct stuff on YouTube. Butt plugs and dildos. Speaking of which, let me just go refresh and see. Are we yellow? Oh, I mean, have we been demonetized? Still good. James O'Keefe, back out there, back with a voice. And although he will call upon other people to share his content, he got his voice back to share his own work with the world and reveal what's going on, despite the fact that they're telling you it's not going on, because it is. All right, let's move over to Rumble. There's 1,588 people here. Let's see that number go up by 1,600 because math. Okay, we're moving from YouTube. See you all on Rumble. 3, 2, 1. The dog took a dump on me. She took a dump and it landed. I'm not that disgusting to show the camera. Between my legs on the chair. We will be changing clothes after this. All right, what do we want to start with? Let's do some Canada stuff before we get to Brittney Griner. We'll get to Brittney Griner 30 minutes or so. I just got a notification from Timcast. It says, Canada euthanizing people begging to live. Human culling is here. Canada plans to euthanize kids. I might have to jump back on with Tim Poole and talk about it. Not talking about the euthanasia stuff in Canada because we talked about it yesterday, and it's a bloody outrage. Coming out of Canada today. Okay, who want the good news or the bad news? Let's see this in the chat. Everybody, good news or bad news? 1 good news, 2 bad news first. 1 good, 2 bad. What do we want? Now I'm afraid to touch my face. Okay, I'm just gonna rub my nose. 1 good, 2 bad. It doesn't really matter because we're going to get to both. Real Truth 22 says, get Punch a butt plug. Well, that is just a well-placed, humorous joke. Lord of the Ree says, jokes on you, Viva. This is a $5 Rumble rant. I've been watching on Rumble the whole time. 1 bad. Now I always forget. 1 bad, 2 good. Let's start with good. Okay. And it might have a little element of bad. It doesn't have an element of bad. So once upon a time in Quebec, in Canada, it had turned into an absolute Orwellian dystopian nightmare under COVID, as did the rest of the world. Restaurants shut down, businesses shut down, social distancing, mask mandates. And then as time progressed and in addition to becoming a dystopian nightmare, we became an inhumane society. We then imposed vaccine passports. So when things opened up, because, science being what it is and moving at the speed of science, which somehow meant defying it and shitting on our constitution, we imposed vaccine passports in certain provinces to get into certain businesses, restaurants, movie theaters, nightclubs. And there was a nightclub in British Columbia that apparently stayed open when they shouldn't have stayed open and didn't. Can you imagine this? They don't care about Granny. They wanted Granny to die. They didn't ask for people's vaccine passports before coming in. And they got a bunch of tickets. Some of the patrons or the owners got tickets. A bunch of tickets were issued, big tickets, and they contested it. I happen to know the lawyer involved in this case. There might be other lawyers involved, but I know the lawyer involved in this. Very, very good, smart lawyer. Nice person also. All of the tickets got dismissed. Now you're going to say this is good news. And I'm like, oh, this is good news. One way or the other, it's good news. But there's a little intersectionality of politics that's coming into play here, and we're going to see why in a second. I said, finally, we got a judge who understands that the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. People don't understand. It's not because you have a picture of something that it proves, that you even have a picture of that something, as we've seen in the Rittenhouse. Like, how do we know the picture wasn't modified? But it's not because you have a picture of someone in a club that you can then say, here's evidence that this person was in a club when there was a shutdown order, when there was a vaccine mandate. Because there's things you have to prove beyond the picture. Who took the picture? When did they take the picture? Show the metadata on the picture so that we can know that it hadn't been altered, so that we can know that the date of the picture is the date that the person who alleges to have taken the picture took the picture. It's just like we've all forgotten about the rules of evidence, and judges say, "Yep, I believe the science." They came in and said this was their opinion and didn't back it up with anything. I trust them. Well, this judge just dismantled everything and basically dismissed all but 2 of the tickets, and I think the only other 2 tickets that are outstanding and they've pleaded guilty to, so they'll contest them at a later date. Judge tears apart health authorities' case, claiming nightclub flouted COVID-19 restrictions. Prince George, British Columbia. Fun fact about Prince George, actually. Google. Fun fact about Prince George. I think it has the highest crime rate. Prince George, Canada. Highest crime rate. I think it has the highest crime rate in Canada. Drawing on 2020 crime statistics, yada, yada, yada. Prince George's crime rate was 209 Criminal Code of Canada offenses per 100,000. Wow. Yeah, Prince George, and it's not because it's like gang territory, you can't walk the street. It's a small town, small place. But Prince George, I remember because I drove through it one time with my wife and had no idea, but that was like 20 years ago. Okay. Prince George, British Columbia nightclub allegedly posted videos of patrons ignoring rules on social media. The horror. The first hint the Crown might have trouble winning its case against the nightclub accused of posting videos on social media of patrons flouting COVID-19 restrictions came when the judge overseeing the proceedings asked what Facebook was. Things went downhill from there. I happen to think, having read this now, the judge knew a little more than the judge was pretending to know. I haven't looked up the age of the judge. Brent Adair. We're going to see this afterwards. Over the course of an hour and a half last month, Judicial Justice Brent Adair shredded Northern Health's prosecution of Lambda Cabaret, rejecting public complaints as hearsay, questioning the relevance of video, showing a lineup of unmasked people, and asking how he could be sure someone hadn't hacked the Facebook account of the nightclub in Prince George, BC. Does anybody reading this, do you get the impression the CBC is supporting the judge's findings or casting doubt on the judge's capabilities? My impression reading this is that the CBC is casting doubts on the judge's capabilities. Seems to me that they're saying, you got an old judge who doesn't know what Facebook is, and you can just imagine how this judge is going to appreciate the evidence. Now, this judge is a judicial quack. Whatever the equivalent is, this judge is a judicial quack. That's my impression. Maybe I'm wrong. There are so many holes in this case. It's like someone shot a shotgun. Okay, yeah. Multiple shotguns. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. Lambda Cabaret, now known as Club 1177, identified itself as a, quote, safe space for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, and two-spirit community in northern BC. The two-spirit is the native bisexual, as far as I understand it. So now things get interesting, because whereas I said before, you finally get a judge who says to the government, F you, prove your bloody tickets and prove your science. Well, here you might have a situation where the judge says, I'm sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place. If I uphold these tickets, I might get accused of some form of bigotry. So do I want to look like I'm taking a pro-government stance and anti-LGBTQ2A+ stance? Or do I, disregard these tickets, but in other circumstances, we'll find a way to maintain the tickets, like if it's Pat King, for example. So that it's an interesting thing. I dare say politics probably found a way of influencing or pressuring a judge to say, look, I don't want to be accused of bigotry. If I uphold these tickets, I might get a social media mob chasing me down, saying that it was some form of discrimination. How can I penalize people for finding a safe space during COVID? Business made headline last winter after Northern Health issued a series of Public Health Act violations, tickets, failing to knit masks, failing to check patrons for vaccination status, and ultimately refusing to shut down in the face of a closure order. The case appeared to be a slam dunk. Not just the smoking, this is CBC quality journalism right here, not just a smoking gun, but the social media equivalent of someone firing the weapon, giving their name and address, and then explaining why they did it repeatedly. Yeah, except no, by the way, CBC morons. Not because there's a video on a website that says something that serves as proof beyond a reasonable doubt that it is what it says it is. Videos can come from a lot of different dates. To get a video and evidence, you got to have the person who took the video. In a lot of these cases, judges are taking judicial knowledge of stuff that they have absolutely no business of taking judicial knowledge of. They're taking judicial knowledge of that for which they have no reason to take judicial knowledge. Cabaret posted videos on Facebook of large groups of unmasked people dancing and drinking and put up a sign they weren't following BC's vaccine policy. Open with 0 mandates 2 weekends in a row, one post declared. The media is the virus. I got to tell you something. I like this place. I like their philosophy. I like your ideas. I'd like to subscribe to your newsletter, if I may. The CBC has now obtained audio of the hearing, which took place in a courtroom, yada, yada, yada. Environmental Health Officer David Creighton, who is not a lawyer, acted as the Crown, and his only witness was another environmental health officer named Joey Chang. Well, that's good. So if the only other witness is that, how do you get the photos and evidence? How do you get the videos and evidence? How do you set things up in a time frame? How do you prove that beyond a reasonable doubt? They had hoped to try 8 tickets, yada, yada, yada. Adair dismissed the first ticket after saying the evidence Creighton introduced didn't come anywhere close to proving beyond a reasonable doubt that this particular bar was open. A video, hey, it's January 1st. It doesn't prove that it's January 1st. Get the person who shot the video, get the metadata of the video, and it goes on. But basically, the judge picked apart the evidence the way a judge is supposed to pick apart the evidence, the way so many other judges did not pick apart the evidence. The way in so many other cases, judges took judicial knowledge of things which were not only not things that a judge should be taking judicial knowledge of, were arguably even true in the first place. We observed people lining up and we believe they were opening, Shank said. I also observed the order was removed from where I posted it. With a sigh, Adair dismissed that charge too. I'm told the order was removed. I have no idea who removed the order. No offense to anybody, but sometimes things posted outside pubs get ripped off by all sorts of people. Defense lawyer Saron Gabriselassie is seen in Toronto in 2020. This is the lawyer for the accused. Creighton entered a stay of proceedings on the next 2 tickets after the defense lawyer Saron Gabriselassie entered a plea of not guilty to both. Okay. She said the Crown didn't even show up to contest 2 more tickets the following day. Hey, this is how, by the way, not to go back to Stu Peters and Pat King, this is a defeated ticket. Bona fide. You just have to find a judge who's going to say, yeah, I'm going to uphold the standard rules of evidence in these cases and not just defer to the authority of the government. And I do wonder if in this case, it happened because of a little extra politics. Gabriselassie told the CBC she was prepared to make extensive arguments challenging the tickets on human rights grounds, but she never got the chance. But it's the last part that I actually like a lot. Gabriselassie said the decision should give heart to anyone planning to challenge a ticket. There's heavy reliance on the guilty plea regime, just hoping that Canadians will want it to go away. I am really encouraging Canadians not to plead guilty if they believe they're not guilty. Contest it right. Cross your fingers, get a judge who's going to actually uphold the law, uphold the rules of evidence, and maybe you'll get lucky. Or, maybe you'll find a judge who says it's judicial knowledge that children need to get vaccinated if they want to stay with their parents, and by refusing to do that, the child should be taken from their parents. I'm exaggerating, but really not by much in some of the cases that we've looked at. So that's the good news coming out of Canada. Let me see what's going on in the chat here. Okay. And people in the chat, I don't ban people, but if there's consistent spam, let me know. We now are empowered with a mute for 5 minutes, mute for the stream, mute for a lifetime. So if there's people spamming up the chat because I don't have slow mode chat on the chat. SS113 says, Viva, take a look at this meeting with Senator Johnson. Okay, I'll screen grab that. So that's the good news coming out of Canada. Whether or not, what precedent this hearing is going to have elsewhere, typically judges should appreciate evidenced by the rules of evidence. It's not because someone has a picture that it proves the provenance, the date, the content, the subject matter. It's not because there's a video that it proves anything. There is 3 spammers in here right now. Who are they? Okay. Oh, so there's a huge win. Sargent, as well as her firing AHS board and Hinshaw. Hinshaw got fired? Hold on. Did Dina Hinshaw get fired? Dina Hinshaw, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't deserve to get fired and maybe charged. Dina Hinshaw. Fired? November 17. Calgary Herald. Check this out. Oh, listen to this. Not planned. I didn't hear about this, but this might just be geographically. I'm not only am I not in Canada. Canada's far enough. Quebec is far enough from Alberta. Dina Hinshaw leaves her job as both hero and villain to many Albertans. Well, she'd be the villain to me, definitely not the hero. She departed quietly, only issuing a statement saying it had been her greatest pleasure to lie about the death of a 14-year-old boy who died of brain cancer that she said died from COVID as the youngest death from COVID in Alberta. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's not what it says? No, it says it was her greatest pleasure to serve as Chief Medical Officer of Health. Oh, I'm going to show you a video of Dina Hinshaw. From the thousands of Albertans waiting, yada. I don't care. So she left. Premier Danielle Smith announced this week that Hinshaw had been replaced as the province's Chief Medical Officer of Health by Dr. Mark Joffe, a longtime Alberta Health Services executive. The move fulfilled a promise Smith had made to replace Hinshaw with a group of advisors. Good. Hold on, people. Dina Hinshaw, Viva Frei. We have to. We'll just watch one video of Dina Hinshaw, the woman, the person who's up there to tell Albertans how to get through this difficult time. This is Dina Hinshaw, everybody. She's washing her hands. Touch your own mask.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming today.
She talks.
And I will now turn the podium over to
She hasn't touched anybody. She hasn't shaken any hands. She didn't pick up dog poop. She puts her own mask back on her own face. Oh, she's not going to disinfect her hands again. No. Okay, she walks off. This woman here, she's like, I better do it. Dina Hinshaw did it. I'm going to talk a few minutes, and Dina Hinshaw is going to come back.
Thank you, Dr. Pardon me. Thank you, Dr. Hinshaw, and good morning to everyone.
Thank you. Good morning, Dr. Hinshaw. You said in your comments that 8 times more children were hospitalized for anxiety disorders than for COVID during these past 18 months. Was this as a result of the lockdown, their health measures? And how does this
disinfect her hands again?
Previous pre-COVID years, do you have
psychotic
numbers on that?
Thank you for the question.
Psychotic. Like just psychotic. And I'm sensitive to people's OCD. All right. Well, so she left. Good. 2 years too late, and all the damage has already been done. All right. Well, that was the good news coming out of Canada. Let me see what's going on here. Oh God, she is nuts. Honor 234. The woman is clearly insane. Safrad and Squib. LOL. This is ridiculous. Oh my effing G. I just it's fantastic. Like we've seen this, for those of you who've been around the channel for long enough. We've seen that video, I don't know, 10 times, but there's new faces, and some people don't know. That was the Chief Medical Officer of Alberta. If that's not an outright full mental breakdown, I don't know what is. She's the one advising on medical decisions, medical procedure, medical policy for the province. Yeah. The patients have taken over the asylum, period. So that was the good news. A judge finding the rules of evidence and applying them. Here's the bad news coming out of Canada. Oh, hold on 1 second. Whatever. I had a tweet on it. Doesn't matter. The bad news coming out of Canada. Oh, wait, no. Where is it? The bad news was, here's a copy of the full. No, that's the full lawsuit for Chloe. Oh, yeah, here we go. So not now. The judge who court rejects bid to release frozen funds to Freedom Convoy organizers, Glenn McGregor reports. Glenn McGregor blocked me on Twitter, but I was mean to him, so I can understand. Glenn McGregor. Court rejects bid to release frozen funds to Freedom Convoy organizers. An Ontario court has rejected a request from 2 Freedom Convoy organizers to release $200,000 of frozen funds to pay for lawyers to defend a lawsuit launched on behalf of Ottawa residents and businesses. It's not... I'll steelman it in a second. I think it's a bullcrap, politically motivated decision from a political appointed judge, appointed by Lametti, minister of whatever, by the Trudeau government. It's obviously, in my view, political rubbish. I'll steelman it nonetheless. BJ Dichter, who I interviewed on the channel, and Chris Gara are among a long list of defendants named in the potential class action lawsuit filed in February. That's by Zexi Lee, who I think it's a $300 million class action lawsuit with 4 plaintiffs, and they couldn't get any more people to join to the class action. Allegedly, they need the release of the funds so they can pay for their own bloody defense to a lawsuit filed against them. In the motion, Dichter and Gara asked for access to some of the money donated, by the way, by Canadians who wanted to support them. So they've seized donated money through crowdfunding platform Gibson, Go cryptocurrency transfers, and other sources, so they could mount a defense. But Justice Caleb McLeod on Tuesday denied that request, saying it would violate the agreement between the plaintiffs and other defendants to move about $5 million in donated funds into escrow pending a resolution of the lawsuit. If there's a written draft, agreed signed settlement that can't be modified by the court, which I would find surprising, okay. Access to the frozen funds should not be granted lightly because it would effectively subject frozen funds to be the death of 1,000 cuts and would risk undoing the effect of the agreement reached between the parties, McLeod wrote in his decision. The Ontario government has also filed a claim on the donated funds as potential compensation. This is where it's absolute outrageous. As potential compensation should ongoing criminal proceedings against several of the defendants result in convictions. Civil forfeiture of another name. It's like, imagine you get sued and they freeze your assets just in the potentiality that you're found guilty so that you can pay them off. And people do it when there's proof of fraud, when there's proof of certain malicious conduct that might show the deliberate dilapidation, disposal of assets to render someone judgment proof. I'll steelman it there. That's the steelman. They're going to render themselves judgment proof by disposing of assets. Typically, it's not using the assets for legitimate defense. It's transferring out of country, hiding assets, dilapidating assets, so that you render yourself judgment proof, not using funds for the purposes of a defense. But that is the steelman argument here. Dichter, I presume, is of mild liquidity, although he might have assets. But just because you sue someone doesn't mean you get to ensure that you get paid if they don't happen to have assets. And it's not because you sue somebody that you can freeze up their assets so that they can't even use their own assets to mount a defense against the lawsuit that you filed against them. Some might view that as some form of litigious sabotage. I'm going to sue you because it's politically toxic. I'm going to get a judge to freeze your assets in advance on the basis of whatever, ill-gotten gains, fraudulent appropriation, potential abusive disposal of assets to frustrate a court order. They'll argue that, freeze your assets, and then lo and behold, you can't get a lawyer anymore because you have no assets to pay the lawyer. Typically, even in the event of seizures, you're allowed to liquidate funds if it's bona fide paying lawyers for the defense. And I can tell you this, I was involved in a very, very big file where this was specifically at issue. They tried to strangulate, suffocate the defendant because they had a judgment, a massive judgment. And as a result of which they seized and froze assets to satisfy the judgment. The guy was allowed to liquidate assets for money to pay his attorneys. or her attorneys. Court rejects bid to release frozen funds. You don't say. Kayla McLeod. Just, it's like, from the article. And from March 16, 2020, Government of Canada, appoints judicial appointments in the province of Ontario. March 16, 2020, Ottawa, Ontario Department of Justice. The Honorable David Lametti. You may recall David Lametti because he testified during the Convoy hearing. He testified along with Justin Trudeau, who some are suggesting did not testify truthfully. The Honorable David Lametti, Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada. Oh, that's right. Lametti replaced Jody Wilson-Raybould. Justin Trudeau, because it's 2020, Justin Trudeau, women's rights activist, Justin Trudeau, the most ethical prime minister ever, the corrupt, unethical, misogynist prime minister who fired the first Indigenous female Minister of Justice and Attorney General that he ever hired. He hired her because she's a woman and it's 2020. He fired her because he's corrupt and she refused to abide by his corrupt orders, and he replaced her with David Lametti. Today announced the following appointments under the judicial application process established in 2016. The process emphasizes transparency, merit, and diversity, and will continue to ensure the appointment of jurists who meet the highest standards of excellence and integrity. The Honorable Caleb U.C. McLeod, a judge of the Superior Court of Justice of Ontario, is appointed Regional Senior Judge of the Superior Court of Justice. He was already a judge, already appointed. Gets another title from Lametti, 2020. This is the judge ruling in the case. Found a way to justify not allowing the defendants to have access to monies that were donated by Canadians for their benefit so they can use it to fund their lawyers. Color me shocked. Although I could just as easily argue the other side. This is surreptitious manner of dilapidating the resources, and we won't have anything to execute against if and when we win in our $300 million class action lawsuit against the Freedom Convoy occupiers, insurrectionists of Canada. So that's the bad news coming out of Canada. That's it. The Canadians... I just read a chat that I'm not repeating out loud. Canadians donated. Americans donated to the Give, Send, Go. Also steelman this. I steelman everything. They found that 90% of the donations to the GoFundMe came from Canada, and 47% of the donations to the Give, Send, Go came from America. Recall that the Give, Send, Go campaign was set up after GoFundMe said, "Go F you," froze the accounts, said they were going to keep the money and give to a charity of their own decision, and then under enough pressure decided we're going to reimburse it to everybody. Then the Convoy set up a Give, Send, Go campaign, and it seemed that the gesture of Jim Watson, the mayor of Ottawa, politically interfering with GoFundMe to corrupt the purpose of GoFundMe, it seemed that pissed off a lot of Americans who then donated to Give, Send, Go. So, yeah, all judges are appointed in Canada for Honor 234 is right. I didn't go far enough back into Judge McLeod's history as to who initially appointed him, but they're all appointed. They're not elected, and so there's no voting in or voting out. They're appointed, and they're appointed for life. Yeah, so the Give, Send, Go was in fact funded by 47% American money, and some might hypothesize, myself included, that it was only after they effed with the Convoy's ability to raise money. And people do consider political donations to be free speech, political speech. It was only after that it pissed off enough Americans that they donated to the Give, Send, Go. But they're going to say, if they dilapidate what they have there, that's going to be less for us to execute against when we win. Right, Your Honor? So that's the steelman argument. They have to freeze that because it might be the only asset against which they can execute. It'll make it a lot easier to execute against it if they are not able to mount a proper defense because lawyers don't work for free, and I don't blame them. Okay, that's the bad news coming out of Canada. Do I do it? Oh, I know people don't like it. I won't do it. Now, Brittney Griner, number 1, or Chloe Cole, number 2. Brittney Griner 1, Chloe Cole 2. Who wants to read what now? Brittney Griner, prisoner swap. Chloe Cole, lawsuit against doctors. 1 Griner, 2 Cole. Let's see. A moment of silence comes over the crowd. as they decide. Do they want? We're gonna do both anyhow. 2. There's 1, 2. Sheeple Hunter 2. Dana 36G 2. Done. 100% of the 3, 4 for Chloe Cole. Okay. And everyone who put the one in too late. 999 Faith. No. Okay. Let's do. Let's read the lawsuit. Chloe Cole. I'm. You know that I'm obsessively neurotic about certain things. I don't like talking about the way people look. And there's a part of me that says I want to refer to Chloe Cole as a beautiful human being, because I mean that she is a beautiful human being inside, which reflects outside. And I mean that. She's a woman who has gone through, I'll say, has been exploited by doctors. I'm gonna ignore the family side. You know what I think about. There's discussions to be had there, but Chloe Cole came on the channel to talk in detail, in like brutally honest detail, about her journey to the bowels of medical hell. And it was eye-opening. It was shocking. And not everybody is composed the same way. And Chloe Cole is a beautiful person inside, which reflects outward. And she's a strong person, which also builds character. And she's strong, and she's now at a stage where she understands, not feels, not believes, understands that she was abused by medical practitioners. A 9-year-old kid who with other mental issues, ADHD, diagnosed as on the spectrum of autism as well, decides that they're confused about their gender. They go to their parents go to medical professionals, and the medical professionals don't just fail them, exploit them at every stage of the way. You look at the stats about transgenderism and its explosion over time, explosion which is geographically limited, and you think that this is now an organic explosion of popularity. It's a medical trend, and it goes from being a phenomenon to being a trend, to becoming an industry, to becoming a corrupt industry. At 13 years of age, they put her on puberty blockers, and they, being doctors, at 15 years of age, they gave her a double mastectomy, and at 16, she woke up one day and said, holy shit, did I make a mistake? And now I'm mutilated, I'm medicated, and how did they not let this happen? How did they promote this on me? Okay. Now, I want to make sure the lawsuit is posted. No, it's not a lawsuit. It's a notice of intent to file a lawsuit. It's like many pages. I just want to make sure that I'm not showing the cover page. It's on Dylan Law website. You can read the whole thing. The addresses are business addresses. I'm not going to be accused of, dog whistles. Even in this battle, this existential battle for the protection of our children, you do not become a monster. And so that's the warning I give all the time. Not a warning, the principle by which I live. Chloe Cole versus Dr. Lisa Christine Taylor. Lisa Christine Taylor. Hop Wynn, MD. Susan Watson, PhD. Kaiser Permanente Medical Group, Inc. Kaiser Foundation Health Plan, and Kaiser Foundation Hospitals. This is what we call so I'll just go here. This letter shall serve as notice that Chloe will be filing a complaint in California Superior Court naming you as defendants after 90 days of the date of this letter, unless this matter can be resolved prior to that time. And we don't need to go through the whole thing because I can go through the details, but intro. Chloe is a biological female who suffered from a perceived psychological issue, gender dysphoria, beginning at 9 years of age. Under defendant's advice and supervision between 13 and 17, Chloe underwent harmful transgender treatment, specifically puberty blockers, off-label cross-sex hormone treatment. Bear in mind, people, you can't use ivermectin off-label to treat COVID, but you can use puberty blockers off-label to chemically castrate children. Politics ruins everything. Hormone treatment and a double mastectomy. The radical, off-label, and inadequately studied course of chemical and surgical treatment for Chloe's mental condition amounted to medical experimentation on Chloe. That's the polite way of putting it. As occurs in most gender dysphoria cases, Chloe's psychological condition resolved on its own, and she was close to on its own when she was close to reaching adulthood, and she no longer desires to identify as a male. Unfortunately, as a result of the so-called transgender treatment the defendants performed on Chloe, she now has deep emotional wounds, severe regrets, and a distrust for the medical system. And I was going to say, whoa, can't stop there. That's not all she's got. Chloe has suffered physically, socially, neurologically, and physiologically. Among other harms, she has suffered mutilation to her body and lost social development with her peers at milestones that can never be reversed or regained. Oh, sorry, hold on. I can actually just get rid of that and make it a little bigger. I'll just see what's going on in the chat. Viva interviewed her. Kenzie67. I did. I'll pull that up. Well, you can go look. It's Viva Frei, Chloe Cole. And I interviewed Harmeet Dillon as well. Actually, she was on the channel, but not talking about this. It was a while back. Was Harmeet on at least once, maybe twice, talking about Project Veritas because she was representing them as well. And we're not going to flesh out everything in here. And there's you go down when they describe what was done to her. There's a lot of redaction. But this is under the damages where they get into some medical stuff. We'll get there in a second. Where was I? Intro, sorry. We can go through the facts. I mean, the bottom line. Okay, here we go. Although the signed consent form claimed that it included a statement of all known risks pertaining to the experimental therapy, the form contained no, because you have to bear in mind something here. Chloe she had her parents. The basis of the lawsuit is that these medical experts with, dollar signs for S's, basically said, you've got gender dysphoria. Mom and dad, you have two choices. You can have a dead girl or a living son. I mean, this is alleged in the suit. Gender dysphoria leads to suicide. The suicide rates among those suffering from gender dysphoria is radically higher than those not suffering from gender dysphoria. Unless you do this treatment, you're going to end up with a dead child, a dead girl, whereas would you rather have that or a living boy? Okay. And the basis of this lawsuit is that's if they don't say medical malpractice in those words, that's misinformation. On the one hand, Chloe is alleging in this notice, they never advised the parents that the vast majority of gender dysphoria cases resolve themselves naturally. They say suicide or transition. Those are your two choices, mom and dad. Go in a corner and think about it. They never said, according to this, they never warned that the vast majority of cases resolve themselves. Some people might fault the parents for not doing a little independent research on their own. The information is out there. Cannot disagree with that. If you want to be overly empathetic or just empathetic, you can say the parents are absolutely distraught and don't know what to believe. Not everybody, absolutely distraught. Okay. She signed consent forms for the procedures. The allegation is that the consent forms did not contain all disclosures or even the most important disclosures. Although the signed consent form claimed that it included a statement of all known risks pertaining to the experimental therapy, the form contained no specific information regarding the actual risks of the testosterone and puberty blockers. For example, the form failed to mention the known risks pertaining to puberty blockers and testosterone treatment of permanent fertility loss. These are things I can't even say we, because Matt Walsh been talking about it well before me. Billboard Chris talking about it well before me. I learn it at a curve as well. People have been saying for a long time, puberty blockers, they don't just put a pause on puberty blockers, you quack hack of a liar. It results in infertility, bone density issues, stunted growth, among other things. And you imagine, by the way, that the parents are saying, well, people online are saying this. And if they're sitting there with two professionals, MDs, PhDs, that are saying it just puts a pause on puberty And if you change your mind, just take that pause off. We'll reattach your breasts. We'll, I don't know, restitch your penis on. We'll just let your bones get back to regular density as though puberty, which happens between 13 and 16, 13 and 18, 12 and 18, whatever, 8 and 18, as though we'll take the pause off the brakes there and puberty will just come back and you'll grow. You'll have, your bones will get dense. No. And so you have parents who, okay, the information's out there on the internet, but you've got alleged professionals not telling you this. Let me see here. For example, the form failed to mention the known risks pertaining to puberty blockers and testosterone treatment, permanent fertility loss, painful intercourse, impairment of orgasm, reduced bone development and inability to obtain peak or maximum bone density, stopped or stunted widening and growth of the pelvic bones for reproductive purposes, increased risk of osteoporosis and debilitating spine and hip fractures as an adult, because of the weak bone density, increased morbidity and death in older age due to increased risk of hip fracture, negative and unknown effects on brain development, emotional lability, such as crying, irritability, impatience, anger, and aggression, and reports of suicidal ideation and attempt. The form also failed to identify risks noted in the testosterone drug labeling, including serious cardiovascular and pediatric adverse reactions, increased or decreased libido, headache, anxiety, depression, and generalized paresthesia. I don't know what that is. Premature closure of bony epiphysis with termination of growth, causing inability to reach full height for adolescents, and pulmonary embolism, blood clot in the lungs. Oh, they're saliva. And by the way, from what Chloe explained during the interview, they didn't much tell her about what was going to be involved in the healing process after a double mastectomy, because it's not just cutting off fatty tissue, reducing the size, it's reshaping female breasts to look like a male chest. They reposition the nipple. They remove the nipple, remove the fat. I guess they have to put some muscle in there to make it look more like a male breast, chest, and they reattach and reposition the nipple. It's Frankenstein-level experimentation on children. Labeling all, so then they talk about the labeling. Where are we here? There's a study of transgender men, which all of the individuals who reported the adverse drug reactions reported cardiovascular events, and of those reports, 50% of cases involved pulmonary embolism. Labeling also notes risk of liver dysfunction, stating that prolonged use of high doses of androgen has been associated with development of hepatic adenomas, benign tumors, hepatocellular carcinoma, that's cancer, and pileosis hepatis, generation of blood-filled cavities in the liver that may rupture, all potentially life-threatening complications. It just goes on. Perhaps of greatest importance, the informed consent did not discuss, and Chloe and her parents were never informed of the high rate of desistance for children diagnosed with gender dysphoria. Also, they were never informed of the high probability that Chloe's gender dysphoria would resolve as an adult without hormone or surgical treatment. I mean, if it's true, and I believe that it's true. Here you go. At the end of the paragraph, Chloe is informed that defendants presented Chloe's parents with misleading statistics about transgender suicide and gave them the ultimatum, quote, "Would you rather have a dead daughter or a live son?" End quote. This ultimatum was given even though Chloe was not deemed to have any suicide risk prior to beginning puberty blockers. I don't know how anybody reads this and doesn't get enraged. Let me see here. So Dr. Suzanne Watson, PhD, performed a perfunctory pre-op psychological evaluation and recommended Chloe for surgery. On June 3, Dr. Wynn, it's pronounced Wynn, performed a radical double mastectomy, removing both of Chloe's breasts. Similar to the testosterone treatment, the medical file contains a vague, purported, quote, informed consent document that fails to explain and elaborate the risks and effect of the surgery. Chloe was shocked and unprepared for how cut up her chest looked after the surgery was performed. She was never She was never shown any pictures of negative results before the surgery, including what the surgery looked like in other people in the several months following the operation. Most importantly, she was not informed by Dr. Watson or Dr. Wynn that her gender dysphoria, the condition for which she was receiving the surgery, had a high likelihood of resolving without undergoing such permanent mutilating surgery. Instead, these relevant facts were intentionally concealed and opposed facts were fraudulently represented. So the liability analysis, it's interesting. Yeah, so they go through the science, the stats that even those who go full transition still have risks of suicidal ideations and suicide afterwards. The informed consent. Okay, and then the damages. This is it. I mean, listen to this. And they're going for punitive damages because of the financial interest in the institutions to push this procedure, because it's very, very lucrative for these hospitals. Based on Chloe's medical records, she has had medical diagnosis indications for, I don't know what these things are, hypogonadotropic hypogonadism, hyperandrogenism, hypoestrogenemia, erythrocytosis, leading to increased cardiovascular risk, abnormal complete blood count. Additionally, Chloe is 2.5 inches shorter than her predicted adult height and about 4.5 inches shorter than the maximum projected height that she may have attained had she not taken testosterone. I can only say one thing. It's not the end of the world to be too short. I was much shorter. I ended up being much shorter than I was. I don't know. Doctors might have thought I might have been. I thought it was because I used to do weightlifting in high school, because I was told when you weightlift, you can stunt your growth. Full extent of her damages are being calculated. They've got some statutory damages, minimums, and punitive damages will be raised on clear and convincing evidence of malice, defendant's conscious disregard for Chloe's health and safety, oppression, defendant's exaggerating the suicide risk to Chloe's parents to coerce them into agreeing to a treatment that was extremely harmful to the minor patient, but very lucrative for the defendants. Fraud. Defendants concealing the serious aforementioned risks of this reckless course of treatment from both the patient and her parents. Experimental procedures are very dangerous, especially to young patients, but also very lucrative to the defendants. Therefore, the defendants are motivated to place their profits above the vulnerable patient's physical treatment. Harmeet, Charles, 1000%, and you're right. But I want to see if I can find this video. It was at Boston Children, cost of top-bottom surgery. I know I saw it on Twitter. Let me see here. I know that I saw the video on Twitter. Give me 2 seconds. It's a video of a doctor explaining the costs, the price, I should say. Let me just take a Boston. That might be throwing us off here. I may not be able to find the video. It's on Twitter. Talking about how the price of these and the follow-up price of the surgeries, and it's shocking. And it has become an industry, and in so becoming an industry, it has become corrupt because now. So I won't be able to find it. If I find it, I'll post it to locals, vivabarneslaw.locals.com, and Twitter. So that's it. So notice of intent, 90 days, unless they can settle it. Chloe, Godspeed. Harmeet, Charles, the other lawyer, well done. Stick it to him. The only thing that's going to change this is when there is financial reality. It's not a question of using law as lawfare to abuse of the process to prevent people from doing what they are, legally entitled to do, morally entitled to do. This ceases becoming a phenomenon when it ceases becoming so profitable for the medical industry. The way to make it not profitable for the medical industry, hold them accountable, and boy howdy when they do this. Once you start making money off the procedure and not actual treatment, you have been corrupted, and the only way you're going to learn your lesson is with hefty, hefty fines. so that it is profitable to be actual doctors and not mutilators of children. All right, that's it. So we'll see where that goes, and maybe Harmeet can come on and talk about that at some point in the future. All about the money. Yep, says nature, lover, freedom. That's disgusting. Imagine you find out that they're pushing treatment, they're pushing medication, not because it will make you better, but because it will make them richer. But they get to cloak it in their own benevolence. Oh, it's for your own good. Let's go cut the breasts off a 15-year-old girl. That'll make her happy. The most difficult thing for Chloe is going to be, grow. At one point, she's going to realize bodily scars. If she doesn't already know this, although it's much easier for people who don't have the scars to say it. True people will see beyond all the scars. And at some point, it is devastating, but the individuals themselves will have to learn to see beyond the scars and understand that good, true people will see beyond the scars. But my goodness, you can go look up the images yourself. It's Frankenstein level mutilation of children under the pretext that it's for their own good. And despite that, follow-up studies 3 months out to measure suicidal ideations of people who've gone through the treatments, follow them out several years. They'll find a way to do it when they are making money by finding that way. Okay, we'll see. To be continued. Very well written letter. It's posted in our locals community, and I posted it on the link to Harmeet Dhillon's website on Twitter. All right, now the story of the day, people. Brittney Griner. They've made the worst. I say politically, militarily, national security, credibility. They've made the worst trade they can possibly have ever made. And you know that it's bad because the most bluest of check marks, these Democrat liars of and by the way, I shouldn't even say Democrat because Kinzinger's out there, Adam Kinzinger, touting the success of having negotiated the release of an innocent person, but they didn't do enough. They didn't get an actual innocent person, a member of the Navy who's been held up, and I didn't know about this, who they were trying to get released under the same terms. But, I guess Putin negotiates better than Biden. Putin got the release of perhaps one of the most notorious arms dealers in the history of the world. And Biden got a petty criminal who, might be more political. He'll be able to make some political goodwill with her locally because she's black and lesbian. And so, he'll be able to say this is a success for equal rights, I guess, in a way. She becomes even more valuable because of identity politics and not because of the overarching injustice of the sentence she got for actually breaking the law. But an arms dealer for a petty criminal, and Biden thinks it's success. It's an absolute embarrassment. Okay. Let's get an article. Oh, this was the article. Okay, so we saw that. Let's get that out of here. Yeah, the takes on Twitter are just amazing. Oh, let's take Adam Kinzinger's take. Adam Kinzinger. What about the retired Marine who has been unjustly detained for years? Paul Whelan. Surely an arms dealer is worth 2 innocent people. Like they think they're playing fantasy football or something. Hey, Putin, I'll give you 2 of my upper deck rookie cards. What's his name? Oh, geez, what's his name? It was the best rookie card ever. I can't remember. It'll come to me in a second. Carl. It was Carl. I'll give you 2 Carl rookie cards for this guy. But what I love baked into this, 2 innocent people. Let's not lie, Kinzinger. You don't have to lie to make a point. I have been pretty vocal from the day of her conviction that 9 years for that offense is unjust. It's excessive. It's punitive, but I guess that's kind of the point of sentencing. From day one of that conviction, I said that is an excessive sentence for her crime. Some people were hypothesizing. She was found guilty of having brought in vape cartridges containing THC. Some people are spreading I believe it's misinformation. It's misinformation by suggestion that, let me take this out, that it was medical. It was for medical purposes. I haven't been able to verify that or confirm that what she was found guilty of having smuggled into Russia, albeit according to her accidentally, I didn't know it was in my bag, I didn't know it was illegal, whatever. I haven't been able to find any confirmation anywhere that it was in fact medicinal, what she had on her at the time of her arrest. I have heard her lawyers vaguely allude to the fact that she had a medical permit in Arizona. I forget which state. I've heard her lawyers say that. They say, oh, she had medical marijuana or she had medical authorization, so that people can maybe come to the deduction, the willful deduction that what she had to have brought into Russia was medical, and it's even more of an injustice. I've heard it. I have not seen any evidence to that effect. Maybe I'm wrong and maybe it's out there, but I don't know. I have also heard or read in certain sources that I can neither confirm nor deny that she brought enough in and was potentially brought it in to distribute it to other basketball players. I can't verify either of those. Set them aside. She pleaded guilty. She broke Russian law. But I mean, watch not Midnight Run, that the movie where Locked Up Abroad it was based on. She broke the law of a foreign country where people think it's being run by a Hitler-like dictator, an authoritarian regime. She went into that authoritarian regime to play basketball and got arrested. Pleaded guilty, admitted to it because she did it. The issue was the penalty. Nobody needs to lie to pretend that she was innocent. She wasn't innocent. She was guilty. The only question is, what is a humane, justified penalty? 9 years seems cruel and unusual to me. But and I've been saying it from day one. Adam Kinzinger's a liar. End of story. That's it. Innocent. What about Whalen? Why could they not get out their own political prisoner? As opposed to, I would not call Brittney Griner a political prisoner. I'd call her a prisoner. You know why, Kinzinger? First of all, she's not innocent. Whalen might very well be. I don't know that story. You know why he didn't get 2 for 1 or even an equal trade? Because he got exploited by Putin because he's a weak leader, an incompetent leader, a buffoon. And he just sacrificed national and international security for some cheap political gain because he gets to say, and they will say it because I've been saying it from day one, because they cannot see individuals as individuals. They can only see individuals as identity politics. He got off a black lesbian basketball player, so that's going to get him some political goodwill at home. And now one of the most notorious arms dealer of all times has been released to the world. Congratulations, Biden. But listen to this. What's this? Oh, okay. Listen to this. Cernovich, who some people are angry with right now because he's taken, I won't say an anti-Trump position, but he's become critical of Trump and supporters of Trump. He's getting a little hate online from people who still support Trump and still see Trump as the only viable candidate to fight against the New World Order. You may disagree with him on certain issues, but if you think he's not smart and insightful, you might be deluding yourself in order to justify your anger towards Biden. Before we get there, Brooklyn dad defiant. Brittney Griner is on her way home. Yes, another Biden win. I mean, you know that the decision is inversely bad compared to the excessive, irrational, jubilant celebration from blue check marks of a certain political persuasion. Brittney Griner is on her way home. Yes, another Biden win. That presupposes there were any previous wins, and it presupposes that this is a win. I would hypothesize Russia leveraging a petty criminal for the release of one of the most notorious arms dealer in history is not a win. It's a big, fat, flipping loss. It's an epic loss and a humiliation for the Biden administration. Putin really has to be laughing at the incompetence of the Biden regime. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. He got. And it's not, she's a human. That's these are two humans. One just happens to be a convicted arms dealer. The other one happens to be a convicted petty drug importer. They're two humans. They are not equivalent on the scale of criminality. And to pretend that this is a massive victory is political spin for having actually destabilized the international community. And it's not an exaggeration to say that. Where is the Cernovich? Okay, that's not what I'm looking for. Cernovich put out a tweet that said, effectively, it's almost as though Biden wants an arms dealer back out there. And I was like, yeah, there's a lot of new, and I replied, I said, yeah, there's a lot of new merch. There's a lot of new merchandise in certain parts of the world that might, have gone missing. There's a lot of new merchandise in the world that there might be a market for now. And so, maybe releasing a talented, skillful arms dealer into the world, given what we now know, despite having attempted to have been scrubbed from the internet. Does everyone remember this?
In the past 2 months, we've moved weapons and equipment to Ukraine at record speed. Drones, grenade launchers, machine guns.
We're seeing this incredible historic flow of weapons coming into Ukraine. Do we have any sense as to where they're going?
We don't know. There is really no information as to where they're going at all.
All this stuff goes to the border, and then kind of like something happens, it kind of like
30%.
30% maybe reaches its final destination.
I think I misunderstood that the first time. 30% maybe reaches its final destination, meaning 70% does not. It's very curious. I mean, if you were actively trying to destabilize the world, make it less safe, and give give criminals a head start in this global context, what would you be doing differently? If you're trying to do that, but make it look like you weren't trying to do it on purpose, what would you be doing differently? It's almost like somebody wants an arms dealer out in the world. Just good timing, convenient.
30%? Are you concerned about weapons getting in the wrong hands?
I don't care at all whether that happens.
What sort of a unit do you command? Can't say. Okay.
There are like power lords, oligarchs, political players.
Everybody remembers the punchline here. This was a CBS documentary that they prepared for a Sunday night. They pulled it and re-edited it. Much like, what's his name? Miguel Almaguer disappeared, literally disappeared from the internet after his Paul Pelosi expose report that apparently didn't meet journalistic standards because it might have actually told the truth. This too did not meet journalistic standards after having been shot, edited, put into a promotional video, and was pulled from the internet. The only problem is the internet's forever.
One of the biggest targets are convoys like this transporting weapons.
Europeans had come to believe that project of integration had effectively meant the banishment of armed force. All of a sudden, not far from the borders of the EU, was the most significant war since World War II.
Very dramatic. Very dramatic. CBS reports. Watch now. Oh, you can't watch now.
In the past 2 months,
you can't watch it now because CBS pulled it. They pulled it from the interwebs. Let's see this. Is it? Oh, yeah, here we go. CBS News. We removed a tweet promoting our recent documentary, Arming Ukraine, which quoted the founder of the nonprofit Blue Yellow, Jonas Oman's assessment in late April, that only around 30% of aid was reaching the front. By the way, it said aid here. In the documentary, it said weapons, you bloody liars. Hold on. I'll check that in a second. The new CBS reports documentary Arming Ukraine. Hold on, where's the follow-up? Since that time, Oman says delivery has improved. Additionally, the U.S. military has confirmed that Defense Attaché Brigadier General Garrick M. Harmon arrived in Kiev in August for arms control and monitoring. So you only had April to August of 30% of aid reaching its destination. Let me just make sure that I'm right. They said aid. 30% of the aid was reaching the destination. I'm pretty sure they said 30% of the weapons.
And equipment to Ukraine at record speed.
Do we have any sense?
We don't know to where
Stuff goes to the border, and then kind of like something happens, it kind of like
at all.
all this stuff goes to the border, and then kind of like something happens, it kind of like
Going?
We don't know. There is really
Okay, so
no information.
there might have been some ambiguity where they're talking. We're seeing a historic flow of weapons.
Historic flow of weapons coming into Ukraine. Do we have any sense as to where they're going?
We don't know. There is really no information as to where they're going at all.
all this stuff goes to the border, and then kind of like something happens, it kind of like 30% maybe reaches its final destination.
I don't think they're talking about aid. I think in the context it's quite clear, but down below when they try to say, like 30% of it, when they're talking about aid, when it's not clear that they were talking about aid. Anyhow, they deleted it. We removed a tweet promoting our recent doc, which said 30% of the aid. That's not what it said, by the way. So you're misleading it again. We removed it, and I said, don't worry, I saved it for you. Still there. Thank you for keeping receipts. By erasing history, as expected, it's probably safe to conclude that 90% is being resold by Ukraine oligarchs and 10% for the big guy. And now, as a result of Biden's skillful negotiations, the merchant of death is back out, but Brittney Griner is back home. Innocent Brittney Griner. And by the way, 9 years for drug smuggling. Some would call that excessive punishment, as I did from day one. You know what else I would call excessive punishment? 41 months for Jacob Angeli, the QAnon shaman, for his role in January 6th. That's 41 months after having been in jail for nearly a year. That's like 4.5 years. That's like 4.5 years in jail for a nonviolent offense. Guy Reffitt, nonviolent offense, although he had a firearm with him at the protest, 7 years. Oh, no. But Brittney Griner, 9 years for breaking the law by smuggling drugs into an authoritarian, totalitarian regime. That's an injustice. Go back to another authoritarian, totalitarian regime, your own bloody house. And you got a guy in a mask where, I don't know, there's an animal on it somewhere with a flagpole. 41 months after having spent close to a year in jail beforehand. Guy Reffitt. Oh, the seditious conspiracy guys, they're going to get 12 years. Oh, no, that's fine, though. That's terrible. That was insurrection. Brittney Griner only smuggled drugs into Russia. No, the injustice. Politics ruins everything, and it ruins people's abilities to think justly and fairly. I don't have to have a memory. I don't have to worry about being a hypocrite. I have the same standards, whether it's for Brittney Griner or for Rhodes or for Jacob Angeli or for Guy Reffitt. Other people, unfortunately, don't, with a capital D. Fleet Lord Avatar. Sorry, I'm angry now. Better list people voting for McDaniel. Contact them to change their vote for Harmeet Dillon. No central contact site. Also check Scott Pressler Twitter, and the link is there. Fleet Lord Avatar, a $5 Rumble Rant. Thank you very much. KGB 2021. $5 Rumble Rant says, you're an amazing journalist. I don't know if you covered any of Brazil. Our media is complete blackout. Can you do some research and find out? I am not a journalist. I am merely an analyst and a commentator. But KGB 2021, Barnes and I talked about it. Barnes is definitely more up to date with, I'm on a sharp learning curve. I know that I don't know a lot of things in life, and when I want to get into them, it takes me time. There is a highlight about Bolsonaro and Lula that we did, and I posted it on Viva Clips. Everybody watching, by the way, Viva Clips is where short segments go. Viva Frei is where the long streams go, and the streams come up the next day. But thank you very much, and thank you for the super chats, the Rumble Rants, and the support. Viva Rant Frei. Daisy, I could put that on a shirt, actually. Biden hates America. Pamela R. Walker. So that's the story of the day. Brittney Griner, such an amazing trade. And you got Kinzinger, Brooklyn Defiant. Who's the guy? Hakeem Jeffries, the new speaker. Oh, he's happy. What did he say? I don't have his tweet here. Oh, anyhow, it's an absolute travesty. There's no way that you would even do things differently if what you were trying to do was screw things up but make it look like you did it strategically. Now I'm getting a little tingle in my eye, and I'm nervous that somehow I got Pudge's poo particles in my eye from before. I'm wondering now, was the poop coming out visible on camera? I think her butt was too low down, and it felt so warm for a second for no reason. It just felt warmth on me. Okay, that's Brittney Griner. It's a load of crap. Good for her. She's home. It's if you're talking trades, Griffin. Ken Griffey Jr. That was the baseball card. You just traded a Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card for an Owen Nolan signature Dunross card. I know from experience. No, I never even had a Ken Griffey to trade in the first place. But I always thought those Owen Nolan, those hand-drawn Dunross cards, I thought they'd be worth millions one day. The money I wasted on baseball cards. Epic fail of a trade. The world is less safe now. People have not learned their lesson. A convicted drug dealer will now be turned into a hero, despite having broken the law while entering a totalitarian regime country that everybody thinks is, the new Hitler. And Biden gets to celebrate the fact that he just released to the streets the Merchant of Death, on whom the movie Lord of War was based. War is peace, ignorance is strength, failure is success. And everybody has to watch Lord of War. Phenomenal movie. The intro is the best intro of any movie. Like the intro credits. All right. And then just one thing I want to talk about, just because I found it interesting. I came across a website. You know what? I know I need it. Hold on. Applying. Okay. Wait, hold on. I got to show the first. It's another story of died suddenly. Hold on, I'm going to cough. Excuse me. Let me go to here. I'm going to go to here. Stop screen, present, share screen. I'm going to use the home title lock /Viva for anybody who's a property owner. Do it. Best $19.95 you'll spend a month. There's another story going around, this time out of the New York Post. Here. Keep going. Where is it? Oh, I made a funny, by the way. I made a funny. Someone made it better for me, but this was my meme. I made this. It's damn good. I couldn't figure out how to smooth the area around his mouth, but that was the original. Where's the story from the New York Post? Yeah, where is it? It's a story of a woman weightlifting and drops dead, 28 years old, in Ecuador. Okay, so this is. Oh, here's the story. Okay, so this is the story. It's terrible. I'm not playing the video. It upsets me to watch. 28 years old, drops dead. I mean, you try to imagine what that feels like. What it internally. Is it a light? Is it a switch being pulled? Is there 3 seconds where the person knows something is not right? Doesn't matter. So set that all aside. New York Post. A woman suddenly drops dead while working out at a gym in shocking video. It's from Ecuador. Happened in Ecuador. So I know my reflexes. I know what I think. I just went to look. Now, I'm not sure that this website is up to date. It said some of the data was no longer being kept. And I know for a fact that they are now up to 39 million doses and not 35 million. This is an older one. But Ecuador has a vaccination rate, which according to this website, Reuters, would be equivalent to 103% of the country's population if you're going by 2 per person. And it's now 39 million, so it's even higher. So whatever that's worth, you take for what it's worth. I'm trying to make sense of that which cannot be made sense of. And that happens to be a statistical truth. Then I went, it's one thing to say, okay, well, if your reflex is to associate it with a certain jibby jab, well, then, there should be overall more excess deaths, above and beyond COVID. So I went to look for excess deaths in Ecuador. And I found from May 2021. I mean, I'm just picking weeks, and I'm picking the weeks that were bad weeks. I'm not picking the weeks that were good weeks, but I'll show you even the good weeks were bad weeks. Deviation, we know the high vaccination rate. Deviation from expected deaths, 94% for the week of May 3rd to May 9th. I'm cherry picking a little bit. January 24th to January 30th, up 63%, above what they would expect. August 8th to August 14th, 2022, 20% above normal. The website is actually very interesting. Let me bring this here. Okay, bring this over here. The website is very interesting. And I ask myself the same questions. I take countries that had high vaccination rates to look at them. Ah ouais, donc. Pourquoi est-ce que ça fonctionne très lentement ici? Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Where's the graph? Where's the graph? Come on. Weekly estimated deaths by group. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is it. Excess deaths by country. Now, I did look it up. Finland was very vaccinated as well. And they actually had, I mean, it's very good compared to other countries. Ecuador, look at this. This is in April. This is pre-jibby jab. Is it April 2020? Yeah, of course. That's when everything started. And it's very bad. I mean, even in their good months later, it's only 10, 15%, 20% above normal. You got a Lithuania. Lithuania is very high. Look at this, 50, 20%. I'm going to go check up the Lithuania vaccination rates. Sweden, you know, was bad in the beginning. Oh, and look at this. Look at Sweden. Almost, is that, I'm in Sweden or Belgium? I'm in Sweden. You know, not much of a difference. Actually, less. Sweden, very good. It's very. I'll give this all to you. You can go look at it. New Zealand, very low, despite what we know is very high rates of vaccination in New Zealand, I believe. Let's go to Lithuania and New Zealand. Lithuania was bad, and New Zealand, Reuters, July. See, you'll see here, pandemics no longer up. So that's not going to give us the answer. Go to this one. Okay. Percentages. Yeah, this is not giving us what we want. And I'll go look it up afterwards, but it's a very interesting population receiving at least one dose is very low. And so then we're going to have to adjust accordingly. Tinker with it accordingly. Anyways, go check it out. I thought it was interesting. Link is there. That's actually all I had to say on that. It was an interesting infographic of seeing it. It's sort of like a mind map of excess deaths. P. Moyer says, Viva, a few years ago, I watched someone drop dead. There were a few seconds of warning, but it seemed to be like a sudden onset of a migraine, then nothing. That has to be traumatizing. I've seen a ton of videos of people dropping dead. There was one, I remember back in the early days of the internet, it was an Indian television host or a speaker. It's just like if you believe in God, just God coming down and just unplugging the human from the matrix. You're coming back to me now. Did you watch the NBA announcer have a medical episode live on TV just like that? No, not that one in particular. Ewan Barnes, that was from KGB 2021. And we got Tropical Rocket, $5 Romoran says, Ewan Barnes should talk to Ed Dowd. To look that up now. Boom, get that. Sorry, I just read a chat, which was not funny, but it was fun. Johnson Cash says, I'm expecting some epic memes. And then we got Fleet Lord Avatar, better list people voting for. Oh, so I read that already. I was going to say children, but we're not children. Children, let's go fishing. Everybody, I think I've gotten everything off the back drop of the list here. Do I have anything left that I wanted to talk about? Tracking excess deaths, no. New tab, excess deaths are also way up in Ecuador, so we did that. Hey, people. We did good today. Oh, hold on. I'm telling you, people, I have never worn this shirt out in public and not gotten a compliment on the shirt. VivaFrei.com for all your merch needs. Everybody needs to wear shirts. Everybody loves wearing a shirt that you spot someone on the street and they wink at you and you wink at them and you're like, we're in Fight Club, except it's Viva and Barnes or Viva Frei Fight Club. And you wear the shirt, it's like, good. How you doing today? You cross someone on the street when you're wearing a shirt like this and you're both wearing it. And you go, how you doing? And he goes, good. And you go, good. And that's it. Human connection. Christmas is coming around the corner. So if you want to get some merch, this is it. Bouncy castles happen, a reference to the Canadian Convoy. Anti-authority rhetoric. The government making sure that citizens don't communicate that anti-authority rhetoric. I love this website. This is the trucker cap. I have 2 bumper stickers on my car. This one, Viva Frei, and Politics Ruins Everything, because I love it. Confession Through Projection, a time-tested and true. And also, by the way, Creations by Ziggy is another place. I'm going to put these links in where you can get Christmas ornament, handcrafted, like beautiful stuff. Look at this. If you want Christmas stuff and dreidels, for anybody out there who wants a dreidel. Now, yesterday, people, I said I was going to end the video with something, and I forget what the video was supposed to be. I'm going to go to the chat and just see if anybody has any questions or if I've missed anything. I only wear chainmail. Do you have any branded chainmail? No. Should I? What does one do with chainmail? Oh, Bankman-Fried. Is there any new? Oh goodness. You know what? I'll do the Twitter developments tomorrow, and maybe we'll have more news. But corruption through and through. Corruption through and through. We need some girly merch, says Daisy. Sleeveless dress would be even better. I'll see what we can do about the girly stuff. It's 2:20. I didn't get to exercise yesterday. I'm going to go for a jog today. Everybody, thank you as always for being here. I've got to go finish my video of the day. My day in the life parody of Lex Friedman's Day in the Life. I broke my freaking phone today, people. Look at this. Look at this. I feel bad that I tagged Otterbox because I really wasn't trying to blame Otterbox. I had the phone on right behind me here to do a time lapse. It fell from 3 feet because I got a text message. It vibrated and just was precariously positioned. Fell down. Look at what the flip happened to the back of the phone. I'm a little pissed with. I mean, I am a little angry. It had an Otterbox, and that thing is like $90, but I guess it just hit on a certain angle. But look at that. I mean, it's beautiful. The camera still works. The phone still works, and I'm not taking it out of the Otterbox ever by the looks of it. But I broke my phone, so now I'm going to go for a jog. I'm going to finish my tribute to Lex Friedman, Day in the Life, and we'll see what people think about the day in life. But now you know that poo-poo is involved in the day in the life. I cleaned up Pudge's poop this morning off the floor because that's what happens. She pooped on me live on the air. Yeah, man, that shattered is right. Okay, let me think about what video. Everyone in the chat, what theme video should I end with today? It's got to be good. Oh, I know what we're doing. Never mind. Viva Frei. What's the name of that monster that lives out in the forest? Hold on. Zip line. Yeah. Longest zip line in the world. It's called the Sasquatch. It's a 12-minute video. I can't do the 12-minute one. Sasquatch. There was a shorter one. You know what? Forget it. We're doing a classic. One of the videos about which I am the most proud. And it's going to be full level cringe. I I sometimes look back at me and I say, man, Viva, what the hell were you thinking? This is going to be one of them. Everybody, we pulled out one of my child's teeth with a squirrel and it worked. And this is the video. I'm going to get a copyright claim by myself on my own videos because this video is licensed. We're going to live with that. This is the removal, the extraction of a human tooth using an actual real life squirrel. Everybody, thank you all for spending time with me. Thank you for letting me do this because I woke up this morning and I'm reading the news. I'm walking the dog. I'm like, holy crap, we're going to have a great show. Talk about stuff, see the world, understand the world, and try to laugh at the absurdity of it all while trying to make a difference. Thank you for letting me do this. But continue to do it in a way that does not involve blind reliance on faith and things happening if you don't make them happen yourself. God loves the working man. God helps those who help themselves. And do not become the monster that you are battling, because when you stare into the abyss stares right back at you. Stay civil. Conduct yourselves in a manner that will make your parents, your children, and your pets proud, and you can do no wrong. Speaking of which, enjoy this. See you all tomorrow.